like how, like I just came in a little later when you're doing through all your demos. I don't know how much you described what hybrid apps are and why you would even build them in the first place. So we can breeze through this if you already kind of discussed this. But basically, like, do you want me to just go really fast?
Not a whole lot. So yeah, I think you should go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool.
People
So
drop
let's
in
just
all the
recap,
time.
I guess, if Sam made the points already, let's just kind of recap in my own words, I guess. So hybrid apps are not a new thing. They've been around for a very long time. They're basically just taking the blend of both native and web solutions in an application. So like the core of the UI is really, written using web technologies like, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. And then that's wrapped in like usually a lightweight, container. And that allows you to leverage, native, platform features and device hardware. Okay, so like a camera, a calendar, push notifications, pinch and zoom, whatever, things that are like hard or impossible to do on the web alone. Okay, and so this approach also though allows you to like run native mobile or desktop devices, right? So any like Electron for desktop and Ionic for mobile are examples out there today. They're not .NET examples, but those are examples of hybrid apps. But the cool thing is like they can, be downloaded and installed through the store. So you can actually have like more distribution and reach, right? So if you're looking at taking a web application and you want to get those into the app stores for reach, this is a good way to go about that too. Now, the thing that I like a lot, and I think a lot of .NET developers are all on board is code reuse, right? So the really nice thing is you can reuse a lot of your code, a lot of your UI across these device platforms and your web browser. So then you have you're targeting all of the devices themselves and doing, device specific things for those parts of the apps. And then you also can reuse parts of your UI over on the web. Okay, so a lot of customers we talked to today are doing exactly this. Now, for .NET developers, we have choices for client app development. We're investing a lot in client apps. Okay. So this just depends on whether you want the most reach or the deepest native experiences. Okay, so for the web, we have Blazor, right? That's what this whole show is about. Blazor. We love Blazor, right? Blazor lets you quickly build fast interactive web UI with C#. Okay. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have .NET MAUI. That's the team I'm on, and that's Sam and me love MAUI. MAUI really is about building, cross-platform, native desktop and mobile apps. So iOS, Android, Windows, and Mac, all of a single code base. Okay, but it is like the sliding scale. So depending on what you need, you can actually use the best of Blazor and the best of MAUI together and create a hybrid app. And so you can do this today. There's a template available that just basically is called .NET MAUI Blazor Hybrid App. It creates a single project and you put all of your UI in that project. Now, what this does is it really brings Blazor to native devices, right? So you can combine the Blazor and MAUI components together in a single native client application. And you can even it can be the whole UI, all of it could be Blazor, or you can mix and match controls. So if you really want, like what Sam was just showing you with the hybrid web view, you can do the exact same thing with the Blazor web view. All right, so the hybrid apps, they're built on top of .NET MAUI. So .NET MAUI just has a Blazor web view control. Okay, you host the Blazor components inside of this web view. And the Blazor web view control for MAUI, it basically abstracts the platform web view. So on Windows, that would be web view 2. Okay. Now there's no internet required for the UI. This is not like a browser going to a website and pulling down, rendered HTML. The Blazor files themselves, they're all packaged and compiled into your app itself and distributed. Okay, so sometimes people get confused about that. I mean, you can obviously call the internet and pull down content if you want, but it's not required. Okay, that's the point of this. And then, that gives you the multi-platform MAUI abstraction layer, right? So that's what's really kind of nice. Now you're just using this abstraction layer to get at all kinds of things, like access the file system, format your C drive. You could do that if you want. Probably don't want to, but you could. You can call the native APIs, make phone calls, that kind of thing. And then, like I mentioned, you get that store distribution and reach. So that's really kind of like, those are like the main reasons why you would want to consider using Maui for your Blazor hybrid apps. Okay, so Blazor hybrid also can be used in WPF and WinForms as well. So if you're not concerned, you don't want to go cross-platform, or you have existing WPF or WinForms applications, native Windows apps, you can actually render like Blazor through that as well. Okay, so that is also just Windows native in that case. We don't have a solution we don't have a project template for that, but there's a walkthrough on how you can set that up. Okay, and maybe I'll show
It's
that.
it's very easy. I mean,
Yeah, it's
you just
very easy.
embed.
Okay, so how do we reuse UI across our native and web today? Sam was showing you like kind of this in the Solution Explorer, but here's just a simple diagram of how we would do this. Really, you're just using your shared UI and interfaces go into a Razor class library, and these are components that you then share on the web on the native apps. Okay, so it's sort of like a project reference, but there's also like a bunch of things you kind of have to hook up. All right, so Sam was kind of walking through that. And today we have a walkthrough. Okay, there's a whole thing on, how do you set out this up? It's like only 24 steps. In only a couple hours, you'll have this set up for yourself. This document, if you go to aka.ms maui-blazor-web, it also walks you through some considerations you might have, like with rendering modes, dealing with the the Blazor rendering modes. So in a hybrid app, everything is interactive. Okay, but if you have interactivity on your Blazor side, you want to make sure that you structure your shared class library so that those rendering modes are ignored on the client side. All right, I'm going to show you a demo next, because this can be a lot easier, and it's going to be a lot easier in .NET 9. So we hope that's the idea. So let me get Visual Studio fired up here. All right, I just have VS. I'm going to create a new project. Now I have this is just the latest preview of Visual Studio that released last week that has let's see, preview 4 available. .NET 9 preview 4 is available here. Okay, the template's not going to be available until preview 5, which releases in June, like beginning of June, second week of June, something like that. So you should get it very soon. If we get our hybrid, just type hybrid, you'll see that this is the existing template you have today that just creates that single project. But here's the new solution template. This is the Maui Blazor hybrid and web. Okay, so this is going to set up what that document, set all of that stuff that you have to do to glue that stuff together can be done for you. Okay, so I'm going to walk through this template. I've got just kind of a secret build of it in here. Okay, it's just a NuGet package, so don't mind me. We're just gonna name it whatever. All right, so you'll see that it asks you about these rendering modes. Okay, so you can choose server, none, WebAssembly, or auto, similar to how you would choose in your Blazor web app. Okay, so if you select server, you get 3 projects. Okay, server or none, you get 3 projects. You get your Maui project, you get your shared Razor class library, and then you get your Blazor web app. Okay, if you choose WebAssembly or auto, you also get your WebAssembly app. Okay, your client. So we'll say web.client. All right, I'm just going to select server for now, and we'll include the sample pages, so we'll kind of walk through those. All right, so instead of me executing 24 steps, I execute 1 gesture, and there we go. We've got our solution with the Maui app here, and you'll see here is our shared. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Maybe. Let's go. There we go. All right. You'll see that we've got our www root. This is all of our, styles. This is our layout. Here are our pages. All of the UI is contained in this shared project. Okay. And that shared project is referenced by both the Maui app here, and then the web app is down here. Okay. So here's the main page. Here's our Blazor web view. You'll notice that it's declaring this shared assembly. That shared assembly is here, is our Razor class library, and that's where all of the components are coming from. So it's already wired that all up for us. I'm going to just configure the startup project so that it fires up multiple Let's start that guy and start that without debugging, and I'll just fire it up. All right, so that's kind of the key. Like, there's a lot of little things that, right, Sam, you probably walked through all of the things. There's a lot of little things you got to do to glue all this kind of stuff together. Okay. All right. While this gets going, the template, not only does it have like, if you guys have created like, regular Blazor web app, you'll see that these are the standard sample pages that you get. Here. Oh, you'll see that, yeah, you've got hello world. It also has the counter. Okay, server interactivity. So we select server, so it's interactive, and then the weather page. You'll also see we've got same guy here. This is the WinUI app running. The same interactivity obviously is we're running natively. Okay, same thing. You'll notice though that we've got on here an example of providing different functionality using the same UI, but providing different functionality depending on our hosting model, right? So in the case of the web, we have this running on web. That's the form factor running on this operating system. Okay, I'm on a PC, I'm on a Surface. Okay, so for Windows, we're running on desktop. That's the form factor using WinUI. Okay, so this is the sample that you get out of the box with, if you check sample pages. So let's walk through how did we do that? Okay.
And before you do that, Beth, just a quick thing. Chatroom was asking about what's new in .NET 9. So build just happened like 10 days back, or maybe a week back now.
Like last week. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of information shared, a lot of AI, but if you want to focus in on the .NET side, there was a whole post that the .NET team wrote up on here's all things .NET, like .NET Aspire is now GA. .NET MAUI is doing a lot of stabilization fixes and some unique things for iOS or Android. And then, obviously the Blazor hybrid thing. Beth, you had a session as well.
.NET Aspire released GA, so for helping you quickly build microservices and manage that. So there's there is a lot. I had a demo session on the expo floor that wasn't recorded, and this is the demo. I'm doing it here, so
you get to see it now. Yeah.
So this is my build demo. It was like a 15-minute on the theater, kind of like sell the Vitamix. It had a lot of people. It was packed. It was actually build this year felt just a little bit more like the big expo area with all these vendors, and it just was a lot more, I don't know, cozy and conferencey, I guess. Okay,
you're just selling vitamins.
Conferencey. So, all right. Where was I? Okay, so I was showing you the way that we go to home. The way that we provide the different functionality. So here's the home page, and here's where it says welcome to your new app running on form factor and platform. This is an interface injection pattern. This is what we would use in our shared UI to do the functionality behind the UI that may have to be different for the web versus MAUI app. Okay, so sometimes that's the case. So this guy basically defines an interface, get form factor and platform. This is basically, Sam already showed you this in his version of his demo, except this doesn't use any JavaScript whatsoever. So we're not doing any JavaScript. What we're doing here is we're using the MAUI abstraction layer. These are the implementations of them just to get device info, right? So we're using the maui.devices namespace, device info class, the idiom, right? So it gets the form factor. So it'll be phone, desktop, whatever, tablet. Okay. And then the platform. Okay. So it gets the operating system and the version. Okay. So that's what we're using for MAUI. And that works on all 4 of our device targets: Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android. In the case of the web, we have just returning web, and I'm just the OS to string. Okay, so that's what we were looking at. All right, so this is your solution template, and then I think it sets up the client pieces you need. It doesn't do any server things. Okay, it might be a little confusing. We have a web, this is a web server. You do have to deploy this to the server. This is the Blazor app, right? But it's not doing anything specifically, communicating to the client in this case. All right. All this thing does is set up a Razor class library to share your UI. So it's very client focused. Okay. Does that make sense? All right. So I started up, like I have one that I've kind of tweaked a little bit. Okay. Not much. Okay. This one, and by the way, Sam, did you show like how we inject all that stuff? Do you want me to walk through that real quick? Like just in case. All right.
Maybe a real quick one, and also if you can
Okay.
talk about the render modes and where people might just want to be conscious.
Yeah, I will get into that when I show the next demo. No problem. All right. So the way we have the inject the interface on the UI, but to get the actual implementations in, we do that here in the builder. Right. So in the case of Maui, we're just adding singleton, the form factor, that's the implementation form factor. And similarly, in the builder of the web application, that's how we're injecting the implementation. All right. So it's sort of just the magic of dependency injection that's happening here. Okay. That's how we're getting that in. All right. So I've done a little tweak to this. This was my build demo. It's named build demo 1. This is what I showed. So all I did was I took the sample standard thing that we just went through, and I added an additional, class photo taker. Okay. And this photo taker I'm injecting, right here, iPhoto. And I've also got some piece of code that I just want to show this UI, this piece of UI, if we're not on the web. Okay, so I'm just saying Android, iOS, or Windows. I don't care about Mac in this case either. I'm not running on a Mac. We could put Mac Catalyst here if we want. So what I'm doing is I am saying if I'm on the I'm on a device, okay, I'm running natively basically. I want to allow you to take a photo or pick a photo from the operating system. So access the file system or access the camera. Access the camera if I am on a phone. Okay, only if I'm on a phone. Now there's the take photo and pick photo. That's it. That's the interfaces there, right? The way that we implement that is we're using the Maui abstraction layer again. Okay, so we're using media picker in this case. Okay, so this will pick the photo on our OS, and this media picker will capture the photo if it has a camera. Okay, all right. So that's the implementation. Yeah.
Beth, can I ask you a question? If you go back to home.razor for a second, please.
Sure.
So you have a little bit of UI that is specific to where this Blazor component is being rendered, right? Essentially, you only want this on iOS or Android. Okay. So we are very used to doing stuff like this in Maui land, where we can just do like if type compiler pre-checks, if you're on iOS, do this versus that. But this home.razor is actually sitting in your shared repo. So it's actually a component that's shared between web and native apps. And the Blazor on the web apps is okay with it. Like the compiler completely ignores it because you have Android and iOS.
How you get here's the answer to your question. So I was getting there.
Okay. All right.
The way this works is you multi-target the Razor class library. Okay. So now I'm saying I want to build for Android. I want to build for iOS. These are just compiler directives, right? The compiler is saying if it's Android, iOS, or Windows, if I'm building for these things, add this code in, right? Okay, this code doesn't even exist in the web version, right? It's taken out.
Yes.
Okay, it's not even there, so it'll never run. Okay. So the implementation of the photo taker is not implemented. It basically I have one. The photo service, it just says not implemented. I'm not implementing this because it doesn't make sense. Okay. I accept that it's here because, I just wanted to kind of illustrate the point, right? Okay. So, so that's what
the web guys. I was going to say, like the web guys.
You could do something else. I mean, you would have a different implementation. I just didn't want to have to write that. Okay.
The web guys like Ed would jump on this and say, hey, from a PWA, we can access the camera. So in a way you could.
It does all this for you. Yeah. That's what I would do, right? Okay. So I have an example I'll show of local storage later of how I use Blazor for Blazor, but local storage in Maui is one line of code preferences set, right? So, okay. So here's the target frameworks. This is Android, iOS, and this is effectively everything else. .NET 8.0, that's the web. Okay, so it just goes there. This also is saying, if we're on Windows, build for Windows. Okay, so you can't build for Windows on Mac. So that's why it just has this little, if I'm on Windows platform, also build for Windows. Okay, so now I've got Windows, Android, iOS, and all of those, when we're building, when we're building for our Maui app, we have all of these, different platforms, and they'll just go into the right folders as we're building. Okay. So that's the answer to your question, Sam. The magic is in our CS Proj. Okay. Makes sense? And that's
glue,
exactly similar. It's very similar to how we have this, right? Exactly. Target frameworks in our Maui project, right? Okay. All right. So that's so in order for us to build correctly, that's how we do it. Cool. All right. So I have, let's start this guy up. See how this works. Okay. Okay, so like I said, we're going to show different UI depending on where we are. Okay. And I also have a phone hanging out down here too. So we'll see how that one's working. All right.
Oh, you're actually going to take a photo on your phone camera. What is your preferred way of showing your phone on screen?
I'm going to take a photo of something.
How do you show your
I just use
phone
screen
on
copy,
screen these days?
So
Screen
all
copy.
right, let's see which one. Yeah, so this guy right here is just a copy of it here, right?
How easy do you have it on
so
Android?
I'm just mirroring it. Yeah, it's in on Winget STR CPY. Yeah. STR.
Yeah, there are multiple things that let you do this, but it's Android is nice and easy.
This guy. Yeah, Android's easier, I think, but okay. So I'm pretty sure this is the right one. I'm trying to here's the hello pic. Here's like no UI. So like see no UI on the web. All right. Here's the choose the picture on Windows, right? So we can choose a picture, open the file system, choose the picture. And on Android, so here we go. No, see what's nice about this thing is I rotate it. And okay. So yeah,
show us your desk.
It's interactive here, or here. Okay, which is kind of cool. All right. So we got interactivities here. The weather page, there's the weather page. It's here. Okay. The home page, you'll see it's got take a pic and choose a pic. All right. So let's take a picture. I'll take a picture
of your desk.
Of my desk. Let's flip it around. Here we go. All right. There you go. We're gonna do the infinity shot. Right. Okay. Cool. All right, so that opens the camera, right? This is just the camera working, and this is just that Maui media picker, right? We love Maui, this abstraction layer, right? And there we go. Okay, so this is just an example, a very simple example of how you can multi-target your UI as well in your Razor class library. So that's a demo that you didn't show, so I got you, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this is super sweet, and it actually kind of shows the power of the Maui abstractions and the way to use the same UI but cater it to different platforms. Exactly. And we all saw the Channel 9 bot on your desk.
Yes. I love
that too.
Obviously, I have a bunch of stuff back here, but Channel 9 is that's how I really I felt really close to the .NET community through the Channel 9 videos we used to do, right? Anyways, I digress. All right, so there's that. There is one more project I wanted to just kind of point out that shows a little bit more involved. I mean, this is just a very simple demo, obviously. There is, and I'll have some resources on a slide later. Let me just open real quick this one. And then we'll start talking a little bit about the rendering mode, Sam, and the considerations you have to take. PF app in here as well. All right, root in this case is the shared UI. All of it is shared, and there's just a couple pages, configure and index, and this is just a countdown. But what it also does is it also shows how to do local storage. Okay, so local storage is very simple when it comes to Maui, but it's not so easy with this is a WebAssembly. It's not so easy in WebAssembly. Okay. So in the case of the web, we are using an amazing library called Blazor, open source library called Blazor Local Storage that just does all of this for you. And it's so wonderful. But in the case of Maui, we're just using the Maui abstraction layer, and it's incredibly simple. It's just preferences get and preferences set. So that's the storage namespace that Maui provides us, right? Okay, so this example, I'm not going to go through it all, but it is a more involved sample. So if you want to really see how like to do persistence, I'm doing local storage. This is all still a client app only. So the WebAssembly app is all self-contained. Like I could put this in the App Store and it's not going to be talking to a server or anything. But this is an example of, kind of more persisting a model, putting it in local storage at least, binding a model, that kind of thing. So all of the, if you're a Blazor developer today, all that stuff is pretty standard, right? There's no MVVM here. Okay, sorry, Sam. This is basically just bind to my model on submit, and what it does is stores to local storage. All the stuff that you would do on a Blazor app, you can do in a hybrid app. Okay, you could use MVVM if you really want, but you don't have to. Okay, I prefer to just kind of do this more standard way of, like, more web.
I think this also, this also speaks to like the inherent differences between web and native apps. Some things are easy somewhere, some things are more difficult. Like the preferences for us to store something, persist something in Maui, it's just like one line of code. It's like such a beautiful abstraction. You can just like store key value pairs. If you want, more complicated like document DBs or SQL, like SQLite, or those things work as well. So like file access is done for native apps. But Blazor, like the Blazor with your NuGet package, that's almost looks like almost native, like easy type thing. You're just writing and reading from local storage for your web apps. But depending on what those things are, some things can be more complicated to do on the web.
Yep.
But
all right, I'm going to close
choice,
this solution and
Yep.
I'm going to close this solution, and now I'm going to open up. Let's see. Hold on. Which one was it? Let's see. Hold on. It's here. Hybrid shared UI. Okay, this is on my GitHub. At Beth Massi is me on GitHub. This is like the considerations you make when you are deciding between the different Blazor rendering modes. Okay. In .NET 9, I showed you the template we're gonna give you for .NET 9. What we're also doing is making some changes to the to ASP.NET itself, so that it will ignore the rendering modes. Okay, and on Maui. Okay, the issue we have here is if we're specifying per page component rendering modes in our Razor class library, they'll actually throw errors in Maui because the web view doesn't understand what a rendering mode is. Everything is interactive, everything is local on a mobile specified. What does that mean? That means that in the app.razor, we're specifying in only one place that the interactive rendering mode is global on the Blazor app. And so you're not specifying any rendering modes at all in your shared Razor class library, and then you're fine. Okay, so that means you're fine. Maui doesn't read any of them. It doesn't see any of them. However, if you're using per page component, right? Let's open up one that's like, auto, for instance. Okay. All right. This also then has a client, right? You'll see that in the app.razor, it's not specified here anymore. Okay. But what they are specified on the components themselves, right? So if we go in the layout, like go into component 1 right here. Actually, where is it? Pages. The only thing that's interactive is the counter, right? Yeah. So here's the per page. Okay. So that's the interactive auto to get the counter to work, right? But it's specified on the page now. And that page is being used on the Maui side too. In .NET 8, this will throw an error. Okay. So you have to do some things. Okay. You have to create what's called like a sort of a static class that contains all the rendering modes, the ASP.NET rendering modes, and allows you to set them to null in the Maui app. Okay. So you'll see that my Razor class library has this interactive render settings class. Okay, so this remember the document I was showing you, all those steps? This shows you exactly how to do this in .NET 8. Okay, so what this is doing is it's setting up this class that you could call from Maui, okay, to set them to null. And so that way it will ignore any of these per page component. Now you do have, like, depending on what you're doing on your, your Razor component, you may not be able to use it in Maui if it needs, if it needs some specific rendering mode. I don't know what that would be, but right. Um, Obviously, we'd like you to use interfaces and just provide those different implementations and share your UI as much as possible. But sometimes maybe it's not possible. And so in that case, you would put the component in like the client app itself, not in a shared library. But in this case, I'm fine to just ignore those per page component rendering modes because counter I know will work, okay, in Maui. And so what we do in the Maui program CS, you'll see right here, you just call configure Blazor hybrid render modes. It sets them to null. And now the counter will work on it everywhere. Okay. Does that make sense? That's the pattern that we're going to use. Okay.
So this is in .NET 8. Could this be perhaps, be the default in .NET 9? So like anytime you have, Blazor hybrid situation, Maui app comes in and just sets everything to null.
Yeah, so we won't even need this because we'll just ignore it at the web view level. Okay.
I see.
So
Okay.
like,
Yep. All right.
like we'll just basically say like, look, if we're seeing a render mode, come here just to be that this didn't even have this class in it. Okay, you won't even need to use it. And if you stick with global, then you'll also be fine in .NET 8. Does that make sense?
Yep. Got it. Yep.
Okay, cool. I'm just gonna go through a couple more slides here. We'll kind of wrap it up. So here's the .NET MAUI Blazor hybrid and web template. It's also available on the CLI. It's maui-blazor-web web. Okay, that's the name of the template. You'll see it in your list of templates. It's coming soon. So just remember though, if you want to, reuse your UI across, native and Blazor web apps, this is a really good pattern, right? You use the interface injection to support the different hosting models. You can use multi-targeting for creating UI for the different platforms. And if you want to do that today with .NET 8, there is a walkthrough on how to do it today. Okay. Now for .NET 9, you were talking, Sam, you were talking a little bit about what else we're doing with Maui hybrid. I call this Maui hybrid apps because it's not just about Blazor. We love Blazor. It's not just about Blazor. We are continuing to invest in hybrid apps in Blazor. I mean, this is like our premier hybrid experiments. We're very close to GA and the VS, providing better guidance for like things like, authorization and authentication, Entra, those sorts of things, how to communicate with a web server. The hybrid apps, though, are not just about Blazor. They're about any JavaScript front end. So we want to allow you to reuse Angular, React, etc., all of those things in your Maui native desktop and mobile apps. That is the new control that we call hybrid web view. It's based on that experiment that Sam walked through. So I'm not going to walk through it because you did a great job, dude. It's based on that though. And so we now have like issues identified. The control name is, hybrid web view. You can go into the Maui repository now and, comment on issues or, have a discussion with Alon right there. Okay. So yeah, so the summary is really just, hybrid apps are really great for web developers that want a native platform and capabilities, plus the store distribution. And then, you reuse your UI across web and native with component libraries and interfaces. And then Maui really does make the abstraction for all of those platforms really easy. That's kind of the vision for Maui. So instead of using the Maui native controls, you're using, web controls. So you're not as concerned with like the experiences looking exactly like and feeling like the native devices. That if you do want that, you would be writing XAML or C# controls and using the Maui controls themselves. This is using the Blazor controls instead. Okay, and so then you can target web. All right, so here are the resources. There's the docs I mentioned that walks you through exactly how to do this. The samples that we showed, the one sample here, in the Blazor samples tree is the one that's linked from that documentation and learn. The hybrid shared UI, that's what I was kind of walking through, and the Beth time until, those are the two repositories that kind of really dig into like making decisions around your rendering modes, as well as some more concrete and, you know, little more meat to an example of that countdown timer is the Beth time until. Also shows you how to implement Blazor hybrid in a WPF app as well. And there's the repository area-blazor. If you like look through there, those are all of the bugs and features and all kinds of things. We look and triage those and prioritize them based on your feedback. If you like or comment or interact with any of those issues, they get like they bubble up and they get higher priority for us. Okay, so don't be quiet. Go to the repository and let us know what you want. Okay, cool. That's it. That's all I got, dude.
Yeah, good stuff. Very, very good stuff. Love everything that you and Elon and the team are doing to bring all of the Blazor goodness to native apps. And as much as Ed would like it to be all Blazor, but, you know, Angular React are also welcome. This is really good stuff, Beth. And
thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Sharing. Yeah.